Not at all.
None of it's on record. So welcome to week 2 of Borer out of 3, which even then is probably not enough time to do this really massive topic. But we're going to do as best we can. So just to remind, so this week we're really just dealing with the Torah Shulchan Aruch, mainly Shulchan Aruch. And next week, if you saw it, I sent out some sources. I may add one or two, but we're going to do some shutim and some like modern like Peninei Halacha on like really modern issues. Like, can I use a fork to choose my food? Like, if I'm picking, I'm eating my food, can I use my fork? Or can I literally have to, when we say beyad, it literally has to be by hand, right? That's a question Rav Moshe deals with. For instance, I gave you like, is a fork like a tool and like a sieve, or maybe even like not as good, but like a funnel or something. Um, and also questions about borer and kalim and so forth, which we'll touch on a little bit today. But maybe just to start with,
Potato? Are you going to talk about the potato peeler?
we're gonna have a peel. We'll do peeling. We'll do peeling. So
And
also
using no,
next.
is it? The question is a potato peeler kli miyuad or miyuchad for borer or not, or is it just a knife?
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll talk about that as well. Since like yes, an appealing topic. I like that.
Yeah, okay, Kylie.
So good. I just want to start out just going over quickly just from last time, just from the Gemaras, right? We saw two major Gemaras that Rav Lexi assigned us. One was from Masechet Shabbat, which had with two Braitot, and one was from Masechet Yom Tov, Masechet Beitza. So just like what factors did we see in there about that we have to consider in terms of doing Borer so far? Just all we've seen in the Gemara. Throw out some terms.
The altar.
Good, right? Immediate, right? La'altar, which we haven't defined in the Gemara what la'altar means, but la'altar is an important thing that you are in some cases allowed to do borer if it's la'altar. Okay, so good. What else? Reuven.
Are you doing it biyad, b'cheko, using it in some sort of implement? What kind of implement? That might make a difference.
Good. Biyad versus, right, we had 4 tools, maybe 5 if you include cheko, which was in Masechet Beitza, right? We're all categories that seem like with your hand on Shabbos may have been the only permissible way. All right, we'll get into some controversy around that also. Good. Other ideas. Isaac.
Pasolet from Ochel or Ochel from Pasolet?
Great. What are you choosing from what, right? Are you taking the ochel from Solet? Are we taking Solet from the ochel? Right. We've seen, where did we see that maybe you could take Solet from ochel, but also was a little bit shocked about it at first?
That's a great question. I'll have my social media manager get back to you.
Fair enough. Somebody else. Which sugya was that?
Where the pasolet is significantly different sized than the.
Oh, good. What I mean, which masechet was that sugya in?
Beitza.
That was
Beitza, good. So of course, what's the big question, right? So in Beitza, there may have been ways in which you can take the pasolet from the ochel. Maybe you can take, right, even and questions about which was more, which might mean that that whole discussion is limited to what?
Yom Tov.
Yom Tov, what's the operating principle in Yom Tov? What do we want to make things for you?
Ochel nefesh.
But that's just, yeah, easy though, right? Also, right? We're trying to make things easy on Yom Tov. And so the whole question is that just about Yom Tov, or does that apply to Shabbat as well? That's going to be a huge question when you get to the actual post scheme here, which we're dealing with. Okay, good. The one other thing, 2 other things that we saw. One, there was actually a third sugya I didn't, which was like one amud away from the first one in Shabbos. That sugya, if you remember, was an idea about how many malachot you violated when you built certain things, right? And what did that introduce for us, at least in the Rashi, but not in the Gemara itself? Jacob.
Produced that there can be borer with non-food items.
Yeah, but I'm going to ask a question, even though we haven't gotten to it yet. Was there anywhere in the Gemara where we explicitly said you can have borer not with non-food items?
Not that we saw in the sources. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but I don't know.
Yeah, seemingly no. I don't know all of the Gemara, but it seems to be not. Rashi doesn't cite anything. We'll see when we get to the Taz. Right? He cites that Gemara. And let me ask this: you all read the Shulchan Aruch, I
Except,
hope, I'm sure.
wait, I'll just say, Rav, it was your good comment that you thought Rashi was actually reading Rava really well. You actually thought he had the pshat of Rava. So that would be a yes to your
Fair
question.
enough. You're right. I don't think it was just not explicit in the Gemara, but it might have been
Yeah,
very.
not explicit. Yeah.
So good. And you all read the Shulchan Aruch, right? Where in the Shulchan Aruch does it say talk about Borer Bechelim? You can keep looking. He doesn't. It's maybe he doesn't.
The Taz brought it up.
Exactly. The Taz brings it up. The Taz brings it back. It doesn't mean the Shulchan Aruch thinks there isn't. It's just he doesn't say it, right? I'm not saying that it's allowed with Kalim. I'm just saying that that whole siman of Shin Yotet really only deals with borer as a food question and not as a non-food question. All right. One more question that I have is there was one other big thing, a question about, right? We talked about ochel and pasola. What was the other potential case of borer? Max.
The question of shnei minim and minacher and yeah.
Right. Different types of ochlim, maybe one type of ochel, right, from itself, right? Maybe two types of ochel from each other, right? All of these are questions, or whether or not even, right? And I think there's like three ways to read that, right? Because there's a whole, if you remember, a controversy with what the girsa was. Is it shnei minei ochlin or just minei ochlin? And I think there's, I have three ways to read it. One is, and I'm influenced highly by Achronim here, but one is that mine ochlin, meaning like we're talking about ochel mitoch pasolet there with his own pasolet. Mine ochlin meaning ochel mitoch the same ochel, right? The same mean of ochel, right? If I have two types of two pieces, or not two types, if I have many pieces of peas in front of me, and I'm like, I want these peas, but not those peas. Maybe that's borer potentially, unless I do it in the ways that are allowed. And the other way is that no, like the same type of ochel, if it's like, if I want some peas but not other peas, it's the same type of peas. It has to be shnei minei ochlin, right? Dafko, we have to read it. And it's like only if there's peas and carrots, and I want the peas and not the carrots, does borer apply, right? Those are all ways to read that sugya. And that's all going to be very important in how we understand, how to actually do this. Because, and this is, I think, the big takeaway I have from all of this is borer like shows up all over the place on Shabbos, right? It's like you can't walk through a Shabbos. I don't know if you guys, if any of you have done this since we've started on this topic, or just do this in general. You walk around your Shabbos world, and there's like you're choosing stuff all the time. Like, can I take a book off my bookshelf? Is that borer? Can I, when I eat, can I like choose that I want this food and not that food, right? That's so these are all things we'll have to deal with. And next week we'll get more into like some of the really practical stuff, including this is the other thing I may add to next week's questions of like, well, we'll see some of this today, like filtering water on Shabbos, right? You probably can get that out of the Shulchan Aruch, what's assigned today. Pour over coffee, ignoring the bishul part of it, which is for another couple of weeks, but like, is that a problem? I'm pouring water into when they're putting coffee in the strainer in the first place, right? Then pouring water over it, getting the water out, not the coffee, right? There's some machloket about that. As again, ignoring even the bishul issues that would come with that, which is a whole nother set of things. So, and tea bags, another great case of is that borer or not, right? So all of these are possible. Ori, go ahead.
And the only thing that I thought maybe we didn't mention from the Gemara was just like meniach, like
Oh, good.
putting
Yeah.
it down have some important role in making it borer, whether it's the psolet your meniach or the food. Is it for later? Is it for somebody else?
So
It all has a
yeah, no, that's a great point, right? If you remember correctly, right, the Breita that we were dealing with, it was like so strange was, borer v'ochel, borer maniach, right? V'lo yivror, right? V'im, what is it? V'im birer chayav chatat or something. I can't remember I should know it, but yeah, so, and it was like trying to figure out what do we map onto each of those possible things there. And what did maniach mean? Did that mean, and the other thing, as brought up by Josie originally, what does Lealtar mean, right? As we said, we have no clue yet, just based on that. Okay, good. So let's, I do want to do a little bit of reading. I didn't assign this, but maybe hopefully people read it in the tour, because it occurred to me just the other day that actually it's kind of shocking. And maybe because I've read the Shulchan Aruch. So everyone go open the tour and go to, in mine it's marked as Seif Dalid comma Vav parentheses Aleph, right? So it's covers like Seifim Dalid and Vav in the Shulchan Aruch. It's starting V'chetzad hu borer. So I want to read that together. Rabbi Jessica, you were nodding like really happily. Do you want to read it for us?
I'm nodding really happily. I'm very happy to read it. V'chetzad hu borer. אם יש צורך בבריאת האוכל יותר מבריאת הפסולת, בורר כדרכו לזרוק הפסולת. ואם יש יותר צורך בבריאת הפסולת, כגון שהוא דק נוטל האוכל ומניח הפסולת. וכל זה כשהאוכל מרובה על הפסולת, בכמותו מושחת באוכל מרובה, שאפילו הכי יש צורך יותר בבריאת הפסולת, כגון שהוא דק. Could appreciate.
But I want to stop there before we get to the aval.
Great.
Okay, let's go back.
So he's saying, how does one do borer? One assumes in a permitted manner and not in a forbidden manner. If there's work in like picking out the food more than there's work in picking out the waste, then you should, throw out the waste. And if there's more work in picking out the waste, then you should pick out the food and keep the food. So he's basically going like Rashi, which we saw, I think this was on the Shabbat Sugya. No, it wasn't true. It's the Beitza Sugya.
Yeah.
But you do whichever option kind of minimizes work for you in terms of whether you're picking good from bad or bad from good.
Exactly. So, but which I don't know, is that a little bit surprising when you get to it? Maybe not. Maybe it's not surprising yet. I don't know. It's everyone. Well, go for it, Jessica. You want to say something?
Well, it's like not the kind of. I feel like the folk way people talk about borer is, it matters whether it's good from bad or bad from good. But I think it is a kind of following Rashi on the sugya in a way that makes some sense.
Yeah, and if you look, everyone go. Everyone go to the Shulchan Aruch Shin Yud Tet Seif Daled. And Jessica, you want to keep reading for us?
Sure. Haber p'salet b'toch ochel afilu b'yado echad chayav. And then the Ramah says, ואפילו האוכל מרובה ויש יותר צורך בבריאת האוכל, אפילו הכי לא יברא הפסולת אפילו כדי לאכול לאלתר.
Exactly.
So Shulchan Aruch totally dismisses this.
Yeah, and the Beit Yosef gets on his case. He's like, he's paskening from Beitza, and that's not about Shabbos, it's about Yom Tov, right? And in fact, one more thing, read the Magen Avraham Zayin right there, Haborer P'salet.
Haborer P'salet, Ein Siman Taf Kuf Yud, de B'Yom Tov Makilin, I think Taf Beit Yosef,
the next part is funny, but it's not going to help us anything. It's a joke on the book, the Hilchot Shabbat, I don't know what I didn't look up what he says, but he says Lo Yadat Yosef because he clearly didn't read the Beit Yosef apparently, according to him. But that's which is a fun little thing. Right, the quote Lo Yadat Yosef. But yeah, like there's the Torah reads that from Masechet Beitza as applying to Shabbat. And both the Mechaber and the Ramah say, no, that's about Yom Tov. That's not about Shabbat. And therefore, anytime you take the psolat mitoch ha'ochel, maybe even chayav, right? That's a d'oraita violation. So yeah, a huge difference between the two. And I think that's like really important. I think it's important to know that, I don't know if people follow necessarily the Torah on this, but that the Shulchan Aruch Ramah very strongly fall in the camp that it has to be ochel mitoch psolat on Shabbos, not on Yom Tov, right? Yom Tov's a different story. Okay. Anything more to say about that before we should we do a little bit more on that topic? No, let's go to a different one. So sorry, I have to think about my notes here. So right, and maybe the Rav Nachum, Rav Landis, did you have anything to add to that? Just okay. Let's bring us back to the Beit Yosef for one thing, which I did not assign, but this is a good group of people, and we can and it'll give us some background information. So let's go to the Beit Yosef. It's in mine, it's Aleph with a bet in parentheses and then a comma gimel and a bet in parentheses, and I have to find it too. It's on it's like a little bit ways into the tour. And it starts Hayu lefanav shnei minei ochlin otoshir tzeleachol. Just people give me a thumbs up when you see it. So since I do not assign this. Reuven's got it. Josie's got it.
You're talking about Gimel in the tour.
Yes, Gimel in the tour. Exactly. Gimel in the tour. Although my citation in the Beit Yosef has like an Aleph parentheses bet and a Gimel parentheses bet, which means the second citation of Aleph and second in Gimel. And it's
mine is like, Hayu lefanav is by me is Gimel with a bet.
Okay, good. So, and if you all go down a little bit and you should have V'chatuv b'trumat hadeshen. We didn't get a chance to see this last time, and I want to just see what the Trumat hadeshen says about this. Good. Isaac, since you have your thumb up, you want to read V'chatuv b'trumat hadeshen?
That's a stretch, but sure. V'chatuv b'trumat hadeshen siman nun zayin, d'bemin echad la shayech b'rira, b'shar litul ketato le'echol, ולהניח כתתו לסעודה אחרת, או ליטול כתתו ולהצניעו לסעודה אחרת, ולהניח כתתו לפניו לאכול לאלתר. Okay, so Trumat Hadeshen says, if you have only one type of food, Borer doesn't apply, and you can take a bit of it to eat.
Sorry, I missed, you said how many types of food did you say?
One.
Oh, you did say one. Okay, good. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can take some of it to eat and some of it put aside for another meal, or take some of it and then hide some of it for another meal, or put some of it in front of you to eat it immediately. V'chatav dehu hadin im hem shnei minim uvorer mishnehem la'atzni'em letzorach seuda acheret o le'echol le'altar deshare dechashivi kemo min echad. Okay, and he wrote that if there are two types of food and you separate and you pull out something from the two of them that are mixed together in order to put it aside for another meal, or to eat it immediately, that's permissible because that's considered one type of food.
Exactly.
And
I understood a little differently.
Is that considered one type of food because the food you're pulling out is considered one type of food? I'm not sure I understand why that's one type of food.
Good. I actually haven't thought of this, but Rav Nachum, you wanted to say something first.
Yes, that's not the way I understood it. I understood it that you have like apples and oranges, and you'd want to take apples and oranges out of the apples and oranges.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's exactly
that's what you said. Okay.
Yeah. So good. Remember what Rashi I think it was Rashi explained it was the two minei, right? Because he was the one who wanted the Gersa to be two different types, right? In the Gemara. And why did he say ocha mitoch ocha? Why did he say that could be borer? Right? He said that the ocha you don't want is considered what? Reuven, say it out loud again.
Oh, so
wait, but I thought that was Rabbeinu Hananel that the Tosfot brought up, no?
You're right. It might be Rabbeinu Hananel. Sorry, I might be misremembering.
It's also Rashi. It's both.
It's both. Okay, good. It's both. Thanks, Rav Lexi. So it's both. And if you show that you want both apples and oranges now, or you show that you both want to save apples and oranges for later, then nothing's psolet anymore, right? There's no psolet. They're both minei ochlin that you want. Right, this will become a major thing, right? Not everyone's going to agree with the Trumat Hadeshen for at least the beginning of this, but we'll see stuff like if I am, I may have assigned this, I can't remember. Like if you're pouring, like I have, let's say, chicken and oil, right? And I pour out the oil, maybe that's I signed it for next week. That's why, right? That if you pour out the oil, as long as you leave some oil in, you're proving that you're not trying to get rid of all the oil, right? Or you take some of the chicken and some of the oil out. Or maybe the most famous version of this in some ways is the fly that falls in your wine. Right? As long as you take some wine and the fly out together, that might be okay, right? You're proving that you don't that both of them are psolet in that sense, right? And it's one mean in that. So, but okay, those are all the Trumat Hadeshin's kind of approach to this. Rav Nachum, you had looks like you had a thought about that.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood. I thought, I don't think it's that you prove that they're the same min for you, that or that you consider both. I think it's just that you can't call it borer psolet miha ochel because you're borer ochel miha ochel. In other words, but otomida, in the same measure that you might say it's borer psolet, I can also say no, I'm borer ochel mitoch ochel.
Maybe that's better. It's not borer anymore because you're not choosing, right? You're taking both.
Right. I'm taking the same thing from itself, exactly. And it happens to be that in part of it there's a fly.
Yeah. So, okay, good. Let's just finish up the Mishneh Lasiyam L'Sorach Sudah Cheret Ole Chole Altar Deshari Dechashivi Kamo Min Echad. He says because it's like it's one Min Echad. Yeah, he's trying to push. Maybe I was trying to rely on him a lot. But it's like when you're taking them together, they're no longer two different minim, right? It's like that they're all. It's no longer apples and oranges. It's a group of apples and oranges, so to speak, right? I think is the way to maybe say it. Isaac, just finish up ונסתפק.
ונסתפק בשני מיני דגים, איש שייך בהו ברירה, כיוון שהם ניכרים בהפרדתם, התיכות גדולות, ונטה להחמיר משום ספק חיוב חטאתו. Okay, and there's a safek in a case of two types of fish, whether or not borer applies, because they're still recognizable when they're separated. When you separate like these big pieces, and he's inclined to be stringent because this is a case where you would be chayav for a chatat.
Exactly. This is actually, I think, a major point. The whole question about, what counts as two different minim is going to be a big question, but also this idea in borer that unlike, I think, other malachot, what's allowed is always very close to what's not allowed, right? And not just not allowed, it's close to chayav chatat, right? If I am borer levo bayom, right? I do borer at shacharit for sudash lishit, that's chayav chatat. And that's like, it's so like there's this really thin line between borer that's chayav and borer that's mutar. And I think that leads us to some chumrot intentionally to like really be careful to avoid. Like you don't want to end up, doing borer. Max.
Yeah, that to me that seems like the part of the Taz's whole chakira about like whether or not this middle category exists and how to read Abaye is like to what extent are we goes there on something that's in the middle.
Great. Let's while we're there, since you brought it up, is that Gimel or Bet in the Taz? I can't remember. Everyone go to the Shulchan Aruch. We'll find it. This is Gedolat Mitoch Ketanot. Yeah, it's exactly where I want to go. So, but all right, let's actually, let's read the piece that the Taz is commenting on there, which is that I have to remember. It's Seif Gimel in the Shulchan Aruch. Max, read that. Read the Seif for us first, and then we'll read the Taz.
היו לפניו שני מיני אוכלים מעורבים, בוער אחד מאחד ומניח לאכול מיד. So if you have two types of food that are mixed together, you take one out and put the other one to the side or give it to someone in order to be eaten immediately.
But I think not the other. You take one from the other and you leave it, right? Leaving meniach could mean to like
and just place it on the plate or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, actually, just if you look at the, does he say it there? No. Okay. I was looking at them again, Abraham. But so yeah, you can place it on the plate. In other words, right, this is the thing we saw with Meiniach, right, was you don't have to like immediately put it in your mouth. You can put it down on the plate. You can put it for the guest, right? People remember the Yerushalmi, right? That's brought in the Rabbeinu Hananel, I believe, is where it was brought, right? That says you can put it out, each guest eats Rishon, right? Okay. And keep reading the Haggah for us.
ושני מיני דגים מקרי שני מיני אוכלים. ואסור לברור אחד מחברו, אלא בידו כדי לאוכלו מיד, אף על פי שהחסיכוס גדולוס. וכל אחד ניכרס בפני עצמו.
Okay.
Okay, and if you have two types, if you have salmon and cod, that's two types of food, and you can't choose one from the other, unless you do it with your hand in order to be eaten immediately, even if the some of the pieces are larger and they're all easily recognizable. They're not mixed together. They each have their
Exactly,
separate
good.
place on
I'm
the.
glad you said that, right? Because this is going to be a question also, what does it mean to be rav, right? Even here where they're not necessarily like all on top of each other, you can see nonetheless, right? For these two different types of fish, you may have to do it beyad. We'll see next week. Does beyad include, can I use my fork to put it in my hands? And the question is, why are you using the fork? But so I'll give you, Rav Moshe says, so not worry everybody. Rav Moshe says that if the fork is not being used to make it easier to select, but rather because you just don't want to get your hands dirty, right? That's fine. It's like an extension of yad at that point, and not it's not a tool that helps you with borer. Okay, keep going a little bit in the Ramah here.
Aval kol
I think-
mina.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Aval kol shehu min echad, afa pi sheborer chasichos gedolos misoch ktanos, lo mikre brera, ואפילו היו שני מינים ובורר משניהם ביחד, הגדולת מסוך הקטנוס, או להפך, שרי, הואיל ואינו בורר מין אחד מסוך חברו. So everything that's the same type, so now it's all salmon. Even though you're taking pieces of different sizes, that's not brera. Even if there are two kinds and you're right, you take one of each kind at the same time. Either you take the big pieces all together or the small pieces all together of two different kinds.
Exactly.
That's permitted as long as it's the same mean.
Exactly.
And it's not two different means.
Well, there's not mina chad mecharo because you're doing two minim at the same time, right? But
in other words, size itself is not a category of two different minim. That's
exactly
right.
Yeah. So that's right. Important just to remember this to summarize so far, although we'll see the Taz, where he does not like some of this, but is that if it's two different types of minim, right? Even if they look, you can easily distinguish one from the other, right? You can't. You got to do it. I mean, you can do it biyad, miyad, right? And ochel mitoch psolat, right? But if it's the same min echad and there's big pieces and small pieces, you can choose. I want the small pieces or I want the big pieces, and you don't have to worry about that. You can do it for later in the day, right there. It doesn't. Borer is not shayach according to the Ramah, who's quoting the Trumat or citing the Trumat Hadeshen essentially here, right? Which we saw quoted in the Beit Yosef. Okay, just finish this up on the Seif because we talked about this, but it's good to conclude it.
ואם בירר והניח לאחר זמן, אפילו לבוא ביום, כגון שבירר שחר יצלחו בין הרבעים, חייב. Right? But if you did the borer act and then set it aside for later in the day, like morning to afternoon, then you're chayav.
Good. What does le'alter then mean, by the way?
Some could be sometime before your next meal, maybe. Or like section of the day.
The le'alter is for the next meal, yeah, essentially, right? Look at the Magan of and Vav.
Right, Hainu misuda l'suda.
So, good.
Right.
Okay.
It seems like interesting thing here. It seems like he's saying that that one, as long if you borer the wrong way, what does it mean? What does he mean by imbirer v'haniach? He means birer in the wrong way or the right way?
Oh, I think v'haniach. Well, hiniach in the wrong way. Lacharzman, right?
No, but imbirer. What does he mean imbirer?
Yeah, you did it miyad, like you did it right, and so I think you did it miyad and you ochel mitoch psolet. You did it in the right way, but
you just left it for later. Then you're already chayav.
Exactly. So, but.
Right, which could just be a mistake that you meant to eat it and accidentally left it too long.
I will say one thing I assigned for next week. Also, I'm just giving the whole class is going to turn into like what I assigned for next week. But this is good. Is the question of is that Maaseh Shabbat or not? Right? Can you, if I accidentally do borer, and and I leave it during Shacharit, I accidentally take stuff out to leave it for, Mincha time. Can I then benefit from it on Shabbos or not? The whole question, right, of what you can't benefit from on Shabbos, which gets into some deeper questions, but is in particular with Borer is a question. So I might still be chayav chatat, but maybe I or somebody else could eat that food still. So, okay. Let's do the Taz. Let's see. Who's feeling Tazi today? Or you look like you're in a great place to like read. I don't know. It's you're outside it's
Good
nice
try.
in the south. So,
Where
or you
should I start?
Tazbet, start Gedolot mitoch katanot. That this is right. That the Rama said you can, if it's one type of fish, you can choose the big from the small. Right. That's not borer.
גדולות מתוך קטנות. בתרומת הדשן סימן נ"ז כתב שאין איסור ברירה אלא בשני מינים. Okay, so the Trumat Hadeshen said there's only an isur of brera if you have two different types. The Gemara ita hayu shnei minim lefanav, like in the Gemara where it said there were two minim before him. B'davka shnei minim nakat t'chol hecha de'ika lemeimar dafka lo amrinan lav dafka. And that he's reading that as specifically two minim, that any place where it says davka, any place where it said shnei minim, but not every other place where it didn't say it.
Well, no, I think it's right that every place where you can say davka, we don't say lav davka, right? And here, since we can say davka, we must read it davka. That's the Trumat Hadeshen's reading of the Gemara. Why does it say shnei minim? Because we read it davka. All right. But now the Taz is going to take him on this. He does not think that's true.
Can you explain that again? It's only in a place where it says shnei minim.
Oh, in other words, it specifically said shnei minim, right? That's what the Breita chose that phrase, because in any place where we're able to say davka, we can't say lav davka.
Like,
so
we find towards an assumption of precision of language, right? That like we find towards the assumption that it said two because there's a relevance to two when it could have just said minim.
Exactly.
Right, but is this the same place where we had the machoket on the girsa?
No. This is not about a machoket. This is assuming the girsa of shnei minim. He says,
but that's the same place.
Yeah, you should. It's same place. Yes, he said you should read that dafka because there's no reason to not read it dafka, and therefore it's dafka shnei minim and not min echad. Okay, but now the Taz.
L'tamu elanu dati lefi hanir'a leravuta nakat shnei minim. And that's strange to my opinion, because it seems to my teacher.
No, the Ravuta is like the extreme case or the boundary case, right? It's giving you, there's an obvious case and it's giving you the more extreme case, the one you wouldn't expect. That's the Ravuta, right?
To include. The Ravuta means to include.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Including this case plus another one.
Include another case.
Exactly. So.
Because if there's only one mean, it's obvious that there is borer for what he wants to put down. Ela afilu shnei minim dikvar nikar. But even in a case where there's two minim that are already recognized, umufrash kol echad mechavero, and they're already separated one from the other. Ve'en shach b'zeh eruv afilu hachi lo yivror, and they're not even mixed, but even there you can't separate them.
Exactly. In other words, right, the Trumat Hadeshen is saying, yeah, it's like borer only applies when there's two different things and you're taking one type of thing from another type of thing. What's the Taz saying? He's saying that's the less obvious case, right? Why is it less obvious? Because then it's not really borer because you can tell one from the other, right? There's no selection, right? That's, I'm taking a piece from carrots. Yeah, but the peas and carrots are two different things. I'm taking peas, right? Those are two separate objects. There is less obvious that would be borer, and nonetheless, the bright had to come to tell us. But the obvious case is selecting peas from peas. Right.
Well, the obvious case is where it's something that is called one min.
Yeah, you're right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
What is that? What does he mean by that? Does he mean, maybe he means that because it's been mixed, it's one thing now, but if you look at it closely, it's two different things. But he means to say it's like granola, which is a mixture of all kinds of things, but it's one thing now. It's granola.
I think that's where he's
that's the only way, that's the only way I can understand it. If it's just peas and peas, if it's just a bowl of identical peas, I don't see how that would be obvious that it's borer there.
But
it could be, right?
He's talking about what you put down. He's not talking about what you put, taking a pea out to your mouth. He's saying if I take a pea and put it, so if I had peas and carrots and I picked up the carrot and put it back with the carrots.
Well, that's
what's the finish of that? Yeah.
Let's say peas and peas.
Yeah, but I think the extreme version of what he's saying, which I think is what he's going to say, Rav Nachum, is that if I'm eating peas, or if I have peas and I want some peas and not other peas, I have to do it miyad ochel mitoch psolet, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the permissible borer is the only way I can do it.
Okay. Keep going.
Sorry, someone was saying something. I talked over them. I apologize. Who was it?
No, I was saying, should I keep going?
Oh, no, hold on. I just want to say this again. This way, right? Is that if I have, according to I think what the Taz is saying, if I have peas and I want to use it's shacharit, and I have peas for my shacharit meal, and I want to eat peas for Sudah Shishit also, he's saying what you cannot do is take peas for Sudah Shishit out of those peas and put them in a Tupperware and put them away. That's borer, according to the Taz. The Trumat is saying, no, you can do that. That's perfectly allowed. And the Taz is saying you can't do that. What can you do? You can eat the peas you want right now, or you can take out the peas you want right now to eat for shacharit and eat them, and then afterwards you'll be left for the peas for Sudah Shishit. But you have to be careful in how you do that, according to the Taz. And maybe someone disagrees. We'll keep reading him, but Rav Nachum
read the next line. I don't think it says the same way.
He's going to talk about ochel mitoch psolet, and that's well. Okay, let's do it. Or keep reading. So.
And further, with a food that's mixed with psolet, hu b'min echad, that's talking about one type of food.
Exactly.
He's talking. What he means by one thing, he means like it's peanuts with their shells. It's like.
But.
It all comes down to how you understand psolet, right? Because.
Yeah. Well, keep reading. Keep reading.
Yeah. Hu hadin im en sham psolet. רק שרוצה להניח קצת ממנו, מקריא אותו השיעור פסולת, כמו שכתב הטור. And that's the law if there isn't psolet, but he just wants to put down a little bit of it, right? That mikri oto hashiur psolet, that little bit of peas that I don't want to eat now is psolet, like the tour basically said.
Well, the tour says b'samuch b'shnei minim, right?
B'samuch b'shnei minim,
minim. I say that the Taz like I'm saying that about one min, right? That's about min echad.
Read first.
So, yeah, I think it's I don't know, Rav Nachum. We can keep going, but I think it's what I'm saying here.
Okay.
I'm gonna
okay, but
yeah. So I just think this is like it's a a pretty important read here because the Taz is so different from what's paskined in the Ramah, and what the Beit Yosef brings in the Trumat Hadeshen, it makes a huge difference. If you're, you can't say again, like if you want to follow the Taz, and the Taz, you make some good arguments. There's more to do with this, but we won't.
So he's understanding ochel mitoch ochel is meaning the same ochel mitoch ochel.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and therefore you'd have to, yeah.
Is he saying to be megil in the case of two foods that are essentially already?
No, he's saying to be
no, he's saying it's a chiddush.
Yeah.
It's a chiddush that even by two, there's borer.
Yeah. For him, fundamentally, borer is about one food. It's not fundamentally about two. Two is the Gemara is doing a revuta, right? It's giving you, including that case, but or the Bright is giving you, right? To say it all again, right? The obvious case to the Taz is that taking one type of food from its same type, that can be borer, right? The less obvious case is when the two things are completely distinctive. And he's like, but that also is borer, potentially, right? If you don't do it in the particular way of beyad miyad ochel mitoch psolet, okay? And so, but in the world of the Ramah, and maybe the Beit Yosef too, although the Shulchan Aruch doesn't say this explicitly, that if I have the same mean, that borer never comes into play there, and therefore none of the rules are necessary, right? If I do it, maybe even if you do it with a tool, right, it would be allowed because, peas and peas, nobody cares. So I think there are two fundamentally different ways to view borer and what borer is. So Max.
If you have, like, to take the peas case, maybe this is getting too much into next week's stuff, and if so, then you should push off. If you take a pea intending to eat it and then see that there's something bad about it and you want to discard it, is that no longer a borer concern because the act of selection already happened, and when you did the act of selection, it was mutter?
Yeah.
And can you...
intention was to eat it, and then now you're just like, it was disgusting.
And then you discard it.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
I want to think of an explicit source for that, but that seems to me to,
Well, it's like half of the act, right? The meniach is part of borer, but it's only half.
Yeah, you took it because you wanted it, right? Now then when you got to it, you decided you didn't, but that you're not selecting it. It's no longer part of the group at that point too. This is an important thing, right? Borer, once it's out of the group, is no longer borer. So it's but
we compared it to
yeah,
Til Tul last week. If you in Til Tul, if you're just doing the hanacha and not the akira, you sort of don't have the full act.
Yeah. So
this reading now makes clear to me what something that the Taz says in Aleph, which I didn't understand really.
Good. Should we go to that?
You just look there quickly. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but look where it says Venir Lanir Daiti. It's an abbreviation. Nun Lamed Ayin Dalet.
Yeah. It's about halfway down the Taz.
It's about halfway through the Taz.
Yeah.
It's after he brings an interesting discussion of the whole Gemara, which is actually very interesting.
Yeah.
Where he's actually learning the Gemara beforehand. And then he says, Venir Lanir Daiti Dahach Hetir de la Alter. He says that permission that you're allowed to do something if it's for right away, who pashut, it's obvious that that's the heter. It's obvious that that's a real, in other words, that's a heter for doing things. Why? Deem locate. No,
yeah, exactly.
Deem locate. Because if you don't say that, vadai, then what would be the condition that alter, if alter was not going to allow you, then what would be the result? Vadai hechef shar le'echol kol adam. It would be impossible to eat. Devadai lo yikach ha'ma'achal kulo. I read it as kulo b'pam achat lepiv, because nobody would be expecting you to take the whole bowl of peas and put it in your mouth at once.
Exactly.
Ela yikach echad echad lefi re'ot enav. You take it in the portions that you want. Masha yikach techila yikach v'achar kach.
I think it's
whatever. That's not important. But the point is, I don't understand what he's saying. Like, why would it be impossible to eat? You obviously you would not have. Why would you have to take it all at once? Because he's understanding that, like, it's borer even with the otomin.
Exactly.
With one min, it could be borer, and therefore, how can you eat? Because you're borer with the part you want from the part you don't want, even though it's all one. It's oatmeal. You're taking a spoon of oatmeal. You want that spoon, you're not the other one. So it must.
But again, it's fine if you're taking the one that you want. You're taking the spoon of oatmeal that you're about to eat. That's fine. It's if you start sorting the oatmeal that it's an issue.
Well, he's saying. He's saying it might be if it wouldn't be for alter for immediate needs,
that
it would be forbidden to take a spoonful of oatmeal and just take it off from the rest of the oatmeal. And I would have said, well, mapito, you're not doing any borer, you're taking oatmeal from oatmeal. So the Taz is saying, no, that's not the Taz's view of it. See, the only reason you're allowed to take a spoonful of oatmeal into your mouth is because you do it right away. Otherwise, it would be forbidden.
Yeah. He said, otherwise you'd have to eat everything in one go. You'd like literally dump it right in your mouth. And
Right.
or
That's not normal.
So what term are you using, by the way, when it's not borer?
what am I using in term wise?
What's there's borer as a term, and when it's not borer, what's the term?
That it's not asur as borer. In other words, it doesn't.
Well, what's the term? What's the term? Borer is one term. The opposite of borer is what?
I don't know.
Something that's come up is lo derech.
I remember it correctly. I think he's in the next siman. Refers to it as natila.
Oh, just taking. Yeah.
Natila b'alma. In other words, borer is a decision. Borer is a decision to take one thing and not the other. You want to take something because you want to eat. That's natila b'alma. There's nothing. There's really no problem. I think that's the chap.
Well, good. Actually, everyone? Hopefully, you have the book that has. Does everyone have Shin Kaf Aleph in the books, the Shulchan Aruch they're looking at in Siman Shin Kaf Aleph? Everyone go to Shin Kaf Aleph towards the very end, the last Seif Yud Tet. We're not going to look at the Shulchan Aruch actually. I want to send you to the Eshel Avraham, which is the Pri Megadim on Magen Avraham, and he's got one line at the very end there. It's the last piece of Shin Kaf Aleph for him. People give me some thumbs up when you get there.
Well, how does it start?
It starts asur is the Bora Machil, but then he says I'm looking at the last line though. It starts the ef shar. That's where I really want to go. Right. He says there the ef shar being yanacher lo havi pesolet me'ochel. Right. He's explaining there about I think about peeling apples if I remember correctly. That he says if the only way to eat it is to take the psolet first, you can do that, right? That's not, again, it's not a decision at that point, right? I'm just doing the method. The only way that to eat that thing is that's permitted on Shabbos. So,
because I was going to ask a question on the Taz that I think you're trying to answer, but like, what about taking a knife and cutting my pieces of steak? I'm sort of separating what I don't want and what I want at one moment.
Right, so that's permitted if you do it for immediate need.
Exactly. That's
it won't go to my mouth yet. I'm going to cut it on my plate.
Remember the Breita says, right? Borer uminiach, right? You can borer uminiach, as long as it's le'altar, right? So yeah, if you're cutting
the hanacha, there is basically le'altar. You mean because I'm going to get to that other piece later, or because the piece I want is le'altar? Because
the piece you want is altar. Remember, that's the Taz's whole. Sorry, I didn't make sure that's clear from what Rav Nachum just read. The Taz saying that's why the altar is pshita, right? Because of course you have to be able to eat on Shabbos, and
that was talking about taking one bite to the mouth. I'm extending it at least a little bit. I'm slicing it.
Yeah,
I'm going to push my.
I think that's what he means.
Away.
Same thing.
Yeah. There was la'altar. Remember, we said la'altar includes meniach, right? And it doesn't mean that you literally have to go right from the selection to your mouth. It means I see you. No, in 1 second. It means that actually no. Take it away. Go for it, and then I'll finish.
No, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just think the continuation of the Taz actually answers Ori's question, which it says
V'gam Aleph or Bet?
Aleph.
Yeah.
וגם מה שאמר מניח לאלתר, כשפשיטה, כיוון דמותר לאכול הנברר, הוא הדין להניח מותר לאכול המונח לאלתר באותה סעודה. So it's like, I think the Taz has a built-in assumption that you're cutting the piece of steak, you're eating the piece that you selected, and then that piece that's remaining on your plate, you have like some vague intention to keep on eating that piece throughout that specific meal.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
But like you could have imagined hanacha being different is like, no, I'm actually not planning on eating that. But that's not the way Taz is talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, if I cut the brisket in half to separate it for the next meal.
Well, then you might be able to say that you're selecting ochel mitoch psolet miyad, right? That you're taking the piece, as long as you take, right? This is an important thing. The distinction would be, if I cut the brisket in half, I take the piece I want for that meal and put it on my plate, as opposed to taking the piece I don't want and put it in the refrigerator, right? Kind of thing, right? That's the difference there, right? That'd be ochel mitoch psolet as opposed to psolet mitoch ochel, right? It's a very fine distinction, but it is, but I think the other thing that Taz is saying is when it's on your plate, right? What his whole issue, he's like, of course the altar is permitted. His whole issue is why that's not pshita, right? It is pshita, because as Rav Landis said to us, like that's, he was quoting the Aruch Shulchan, that's not selecting, that's not making a choice, that's just eating, right? That's taking, the tila is just taking something, right? There's a difference. And this is the fine line here of, on one hand, if you're like making a choice, then you have to make the choice for now with your hands, right? And, and take the ochel. But if you're not making a choice, you're just like taking something, then it's not a problem. So, or at least eating, right? If you're just eating, it's not a problem. So,
Can I keep bothering you about this for a second?
Yeah, maybe.
I want to get the real world case.
Yeah.
I cut the brisket in half. I put one half back in the fridge. That is for later.
But it's already been, as long as you selected it already, right? You've taken out. You take the
right.
You take the piece you want to eat, you put it on your plate. Now afterwards, now you just have the brisket for later that you can put in the fridge because you're not selecting anymore.
What if I take the piece I want for the next and I put on the blech for the next meal, or I put it on the kiddush table for after davening?
Oh, you mean like, but it's already been, they're already separate, right? They're not mixed. They're not mirror.
I'm saying in the case where I actually separated it and then put, half back in the fridge and half on the blech for, after davening.
Oh, you select, that might be, maybe that's a problem. So, yeah. Well, after davening, you said, that'd be for the next meal, right? That's the question is, we haven't got into to like
upcoming meal. So it might be still out there, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah. Where did I assigned you something that had a definition of the altar. Where was it? Someone remember? Hold on. It's oh yeah, everyone. Well, two things. Look at Be'ur Hagra. I think it was Gimel. Well, two things. Yeah, let's start with Be'ur Hagra Gimel. So that's what he's on here. Let's just read. Actually, let's read. Let's go back. I'll back us up. What time is it? Yeah, let's do it right now. Let's read Aleph in the Shulchan Aruch. We haven't read it yet, and then we'll look at that Be'ur Hagra for the moment. So let's see. Who wants to read Sif Aleph in the Shulchan Aruch? Reuven, please.
Okay. הבוער אוכל מתוך פסולת, או שהיו לפניו שני מיני אוכלין, ובירר מין אחר, ונפל בחברה חייב, בקנון ובתמחוי פטור אבל אסור, ואם ביררם בידו כדי לאכול לאלתר, מותר. I'll translate that before I do the Haggah. So somebody who does borer, who separates food from the psolet, from the waste, or has two different types of food in front of them and then separates one mean from another, if they do so with one of these two different types of sieves, that's how I understand them, then they're chayav chatat. But if they do so with a reed basket or some sort of sorting tray,
although, if you remember, Rashi seemed to think a kanon was like a funnel, essentially, right?
That's right. Okay, that's right. Kanon, I think Jastrow said reed basket, but Rashi said some sort of funnel. That's right. But tamchui is a sort of tray. Am I?
It's a plate. Yeah. Remember, I talked. You're rotating it so that the things of different mass end up at different parts of it. So, but that's right. Centrifuge, essentially, at the end of the day.
It's like those bowls that, if you sign up for China for your wedding, and you get like a soup China bowl, like you pour the soup into a tamchui.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Yes. It's like that serving bowl that you put the soup in that you put on the table then, as opposed to putting your cooking pot on the table.
Exactly. So
not that I have one, but that's what it is.
I think I've seen one when I got to eat dinner at your house. Didn't I see that? No?
No, I don't have the one I'm imagining I don't have. I'm imagining a big one for soup. I don't have such a thing.
Rav Nachum is secretly a very good cook, but he doesn't admit to it.
Thank you.
Okay, anyway, Reuven, keep reading. So.
Yes. Okay. So if you do it with a kanon or tamchui patur v'lasur, but if you do your borer with biyad, in order to eat it immediately, or I'll say la'alter, then it's mutar.
Yeah, by the way, what did the Shulchan Aruch leave out there?
B'cheiko.
No, look at Bet in the Magen Avraham.
Magen Avraham. Bet. Oh, sorry. Yes. La'alter mutar.
Yep.
V'davka ochel mitoch hapsolet.
Yeah. So
okay.
He writes it later, but he didn't write it down.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. All right. Good. Read the Haggah.
Well, I think it's obvious.
I think so too. I think it's
because that was the first part. The first part was also that it's ochel mitoch psolet. Borer ochel mitoch psolet.
Yeah, good.
We're all in one case.
So, and the Magen Avraham seemed to feel that it needed commenting on, right? That it wasn't so pshita, but
he was worried about the mistake someone might make.
Exactly. So okay, so now read the Haggah.
Okay. Haggah v'kol ma sheborer letzorech ota seuda shemesev ba miyad mikre la'alter ve'afilu acherim achlim imo sharei ulechen mutar livor hayerek shekorin shlatan
salatin.
Oh, salatin.
Greens. Yeah.
Green. מן האלים המאופשין שבו כל מה שצריך לאכול באותה סעודה. Okay, so anything that you separate for a meal that you're going to immediately eat, that's what la'alter means for the next meal. And
ota suda shemei sevba, the suda you're sitting down to eat at, right? It sounds in the Ramah a little bit more.
So really, for this meal, not for
right.
For this meal that's right. That's called la'alter, but it's more than just in that immediate moment.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be like that next 5 seconds. It's the meal that you are engaged with at the time. So
that's right. Okay, thank you. And you can also, if it's for others as well, if other people are eating with you, it's permitted. That's from the Tosfot. And therefore, it's permitted to do borer, where you're separating the sort of moldy leaves from the rest of the leaves.
Read that carefully. I want you to say that very precisely.
Okay. Therefore, it's permitted to separate these salad leaves, I guess, the vegetable known as salatin, from the moldy leaves that are on it, the amount that is necessary to eat for that very meal.
Why did I correct you, Ruben?
I don't remember what I said initially.
You said to take the moldy leaves, right?
Thank you. Yes. No. Yes. You're not taking psolet minacha. Thank you. That's a very important distinction.
So it's this is the thing with borer again. I'm trying to, maybe I'm over hitting this home, but it's like borer is a very precise.
Except with the proviso that you said that you brought for us from the Prima Gadim.
Exactly.
In Shin Kaf Aleph, which is that if it's if you're talking about like a romaine lettuce and you want to remove the dried up leaves from the outside, that you can't take away the inside from the outside. Really, I mean, I guess you could hold the outer one and pull the whole rest of it away.
Yeah. No, I think. Yeah. No, I think you're completely right, Rav Nachum, because if it's the only way to eat, right? You can peel a banana on Shabbos and eat the banana, right?
But by the way, it comes out, by the way, according to this, that like you couldn't make a salad for, let's say you wanted to cut an onion and peel it and cut it. You could do that, but you couldn't do it for the different meal. You can only do it for the next meal.
Yeah. So because you're doing borer, it's if you're following the Taz again, right?
In other words, even though it's permitted, all that the Prima Gadim said was that there's no other way to do it, so you're allowed to do it. So it's considered ochel mitoch psolet, but ochel mitoch psolet is still only allowed la'alter. So if you wanted to make a salad for a later meal, you couldn't. You have to make it for whatever is called la'alter is when you have to make the salad. Let's say putting onions in the salad. Unless your salad is, and if you're like the Taz, then even cutting a cucumber might be a problem. Even chopping it because you're separating. I don't know. That's a bit.
Well, as long as the
I don't know if
stuff
you
you're
meant that.
cooking is for that meal, right? That's
Right, you could cut it for that meal. It
Yeah, I'm
doesn't
saying for another meal.
want to
I'm
split
specifically
it.
saying that the altar, that the other hetters are also the altar. You have to be the altar.
So good. I just want us to look at one Biur
Can I
Hagra.
just say about that? I just looked at the Mishnah Brura on the first Seif right before Shir, and he said that like if you had a kavanah for that to last to your next meal, then you would be chayav chatat. But if you don't have a kavanah, like if you're just planning for it to be for that specific meal, and then it just so happens to last to the next meal, then it's fine. Then
good.
Yeah, I was going to say that too about intentionality, and therefore, if you have you're doing your cutting for this meal, you don't have to get paranoid. If leftovers is leftovers, that they're left over. I mean, if you don't have that intentionality, you're okay.
But I don't think chopping a cucumber is called borer.
No.
I don't think that's called borer, just because you're separating it when you cut the knife through. I don't think that's called borer.
Yeah. Well, because you're that. I mean, we can get into the things when we talk about tochen, but like that's the only thing there when you're taking a thing and separating it into separate parts. But that was like one coherent item. So
exactly,
chopping it up is not ever borer.
Well, the only problem with the salad is like peeling the bad leaves off of the lettuce or peeling the dark leaves off of an onion. But chopping it up.
If you cut half the cucumber, then that would be.
Then it might be a problem. Yeah.
Then it would be borer according to Rabbeinu Hananel and Rashi, etc. That just the half you don't want is psolet.
Or like the stem of a tomato, taking the stem off of the tomato or that would be.
But again, yeah, if you're doing it and you want that tomato for a later meal, that might be a problem. But but also I think I want to hit home with the Mishnah Brura and Rav Linus are saying is like this doesn't mean you can't have leftovers, right? It doesn't mean you have to eat every piece of food out in front of you that you took out for that meal, right? As long as you took the food out for that meal, if you didn't eat all of it, you didn't eat all of it. Like that's different than saying.
But it could come. Let's say you're making kiddush in shul. You can't make the salad Friday night. After dinner, you say, "Oh, I'm going to make salad for I don't know for the kiddush and shul." It sounds like not really the altar. I mean, it is the next meal, but I don't know if that's really the altar.
Yeah, so that's the question: is the altar just the next meal, or is there like it have to be? I mean, the Ramaz language, if we're really midyak about it, shem may save, right? Let's tzorach otasuda shem may save ba, right? Now, what is that? Like you're like it sounds almost like you're sitting down for that meal at that point. I think maybe it's not to that extreme.
I think that different poskim have different levels of chumrah regarding this. Some people would say it has to be like even if you're about to go to shul, you can't make the salad in the morning, even for lunch. You have to make it when you come back from shul.
Mm-hmm. And other poskim, maybe should bring something on that. Other poskim are going to say if it's the next meal you're going to have, that's fine.
And you would be able to do it in the morning, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but Jacob, is that a hand or? All right, let's take a 5-minute break here. I think this is a good stopping point, and we'll come on back and do some more on Borer. Okay, good. A couple things that I want to cover. Let's start with we read Dalet in the Shulchan Aruch already, but this is. Which would Dalet, just to remind us, said that you have to that you're chayav if you take the psolet from the ochel, and even if there's more ochel, right? In other words, the permission for that was only for Yom Tov and not for Shabbos. I wanted to look at the Taz on Gimel. Ve'afilo ochel merabeh. Even if there's more ochel than psolet, you can't take the psolet, even though it's easier. Let's see. Jacob, you want to read?
Sure. I just sat down. So where are we?
We're in the Taz Sif Katan Gimel, which is on Sif Dalet in the Shulchan Aruch.
Okay. The Bilu Ha'ochel Meruba.
Exactly.
Okay. Vafilu ha'ochel meruba. The torque to the im hapsolet meruba al ha'ochel asur afilu taltalo she'ochel batel baro fasol. Mikol makom losing tanim nishtabru v'adayim merubin b'klipotan, af al pi she'aklipot merubot al ha'ochel lo mikre pasolet meruba al ha'ochel kevan dor chayhu b'hachi.
I keep it.
Kamo shomer pri ad kam l'shono.
Okay.
So sorry, translate that or explain that or
Explain it. So
yeah, if in the Torah, like if the sola is more than the ochel, then the ochel's batal berov, and then it's muksa.
exactly. We saw this in the Rashi, right? If you remember on Masechet Beitza.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
What if it became? I mean, this is assuming it was like that before Shabbat, right? I mean, what if I had like ochel and psolet mixed together in a bag, and I started eating all the ochel to the point where there's now a lot of psolet, only a little bit of ochel left. Not going to all of a sudden become muksa.
Yeah, because it was. I mean, maybe you could say
at Bein Hashmashot. It was.
You could say Bein Hashmashot. You could say Lechulei Shabta, right? It has to be
it seems to me that we're only talking that it was like that, but nobody seems to say that. We haven't seen that, not in Rashi and not here. Like it must be. It's like it must be assumed that.
It's a great point. It's. I mean, I think you have to say like it's. Otherwise, you couldn't. You'd have to stop. Once they get 50-50, you have to stop, right? You'd be done.
Well, no, once it's in your hand, you're allowed to keep it in your hand, but if you put it down and then you couldn't pick it up again. It would be very strange. I think we're talking about where it was before Shabbat, it was in the state of being mostly psola.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's giving us a big exception to it too, right here, right?
Right, he's about the peels, yeah.
Yeah. So, but
okay. So, Ella did klipa Ella did klipa Yeroka.
No. You were explaining what he said.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you meant to continue or not, but the shells of nuts, I wasn't sure if losing were also nuts. I didn't get around to looking that up. But
hazelnuts.
Hazelnuts. Okay, so it's nuts. That's the normal way to eat them. Is you take the shells off. I guess you leave the shells among that.
Well, I think what you do is you crush them all at once, right? You like put a hammer on them, and then you got a bunch of ochel and psolet right around. So
okay, right, and since it's the normal way, and it's just a protection of the fruit of the edible part, that's fine.
All this is a protective. All this is a protective shell, right? In other words, it's just giving you right. There's not psolet at that point.
Yeah.
It's like protecting the fruit, with the fruit here being a nut, right? And therefore he's not saying that's not psolet at all, and therefore you can, yeah. So, okay. So, skip down the klipa yeruka is interesting. It's in but I want to go to the Beit Yosef piece. Beit Yosef hiksha.
Okay. Trying to figure out where that is.
It's like a
one line down.
One line down. Yeah.
2 lines.
Habeit Yosef hiksha dekan mashma dechol shadborer b'yado akal gab dematil tochli afilu l'napa v'kvara mutar imhu la'alter. So that Yosef asked question that here teaches that all that separates his hand, even if he takes and puts it into a vessel, and even if that vessel is a sieve or a colander, it's permitted if he's doing that the altar.
But what's the diuk? What's the diuk? Why is it mashmakan? I think it's because it says afilu biyado achat.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think it's because it says afilu biyado achat, so it's like mashma that like yado achat is a heter.
Well, let me go further. I think once you've taken it with your hand, then all bets are off, right? Then you've done it properly, and then you can do whatever you want with a piece of food. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. And so it sounds like this is good. I think this is very important. At least I found it important. Hope maybe you do too. Of like the question of, okay, I took out the pieces I want. Can I put them in a kli now? And it doesn't matter what kind of kli it is. And this is what's gonna get into that question,
Yeah.
right? Because Joseph says from the tour,
Right.
it seemed like, yeah, I can pick out my peanuts and I can throw them. I actually assume, by the way, in the Taz, they're actual peanuts. He's late enough that they had peanuts from the New World, right? And I can go throw them into you know, a bowl or maybe even to a sieve, right? Potentially.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Right. So, and thus it's the putting it down isn't necessary. Like it's not completing the action of borer or any separation. It's just that you're putting it down.
Yeah, but the Beit Yosef has a problem with it. So keep going.
Okay. Look, Haselo mima se'amru b'parak kama debitza the Yom Tov borer kedarko b'cheko b'kanon v'tamfoy v'cheko masma s'borer b'yado v'not in the tocheko. The dumya decheko hava kanon v'tamfoy. V'im kain lo sari ela leborer or laniach liado, aval laniach b'kanon v'tamchoy asor. Aval tid in borer ela biado lachol la'alter.
Good.
So, because it talks about in Betza about borer kedarko, and that includes putting into your lap, which would be by hand, into your lap, and how that's I guess pator balasor, then you can't then clearly how you put it down, what you put it down into has relevance.
Exactly. Right? Since that's the list of the three things that you can't, that are patur valasur on Yom Tov would be kanon, tamchui, and cheko. It sounds like you've done the borer beryad and you've put it in cheko, and that's asur, right? I mean, the Beit Yosef continues on it. He's like, this is like that, right? But they're the similar list, and so, so it doesn't matter if you did borer by hand and put it in one of these vessels, or you did borer by vessel, right? They're the same thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, but skip on over to Mori v'chami zal, right? This is the Bach, right? This is the Taz quoting his father-in-law.
Okay.
It's in an accurate. It's Rashi Tevot, Vav Mem Vav Chet.
Yeah. So zal pirish hach b'cheko gam kein abrira. Pore salito al cheko uvorer alav. Katav haitolos hamesna lifnei habet Yosef sheomer biyom tov b'kanon v'tamchoy v'leta dlo astra hamesna biyom tov ala b'napa v'varach ad kamashanel. So the explanation is either that Cheko is using a talit for separating, so it's still by a vessel.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Or that there was a different girsa, a mistaken girsa.
Yeah, he's also the Beit Yosef missed it, that actually the kanon and tamchui and cheko were permitted on Yom Tov, right? Although maybe there's a way to say only on Yom Tov, not on Shabbos. I think is the way the Beit Yosef's reading it. But he's also saying that, you know, but also, no. When you say becheko, that means you're using your garment to do borer, and not that you're using doing borer and then putting in your garment. Okay, and go to uvemet sad kuyachdav.
Uvemet sad kuyachdav bisneim.
Yeah, this is, by the way, the Taz now speaking. He's done with his father-in-law. He's done with the Beit Yosef, right? Maybe I'll summarize again. This is a lot. The Beit Yosef says, it seems from the Mishnah and Beitza that you cannot do borer b'yad and then stick it in a vessel, because that's problematic, right? Because the way the list goes there. And the Bach responds to that, and he says, no, there we're not talking about taking it with your hand and putting it in your garments. We're talking about using your garments for borer. And also you misunderstood the Mishnah. You have the wrong version of the Mishnah of Joseph. Okay. But now he's actually going to say, I actually can, well, they both are right in some ways. So keep going.
Achar brira l'tocheko. The haki ita behedia begmara sham. Hodam lozah. Nan hatam hamolel melilo shelchitom nefet.
Minapeach al yad.
Oh, minapeach al yad ve'ochel. Bimnapeach netam l'tocheko. Here's Rashi. B'shol gadav chayv b'maiser. Umaskinan shan dila inyan shabbat pator. Okay. So, should I explain or should I?
Yeah, explain.
So it has to be about brira. Sorry, it has to be about hanicha after brira because it explains before in the Gemara this case of like separating kernels, like rolling.
You're crushing wheat berries, right? You're crushing wheat berries
between your fingers,
and then you're like fanning over them, right, through your hands.
Yeah. And eating them, but so you're separating them, and if you fan them and then you put it into your lap.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Rashi explains that, like,
he's just explaining what does cheko mean, beshule begadav, right? That's shule begadav. And if you put them there, you're chayav and maser, but you're allowed to do it on Shabbat. Right. So I'm just going to help you out a little bit just from a time thing here. But anyways, right. What's
you said it says your patur. Wait, your patura.
Oh, patur. Sorry, patur.
Patur of alasur on.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, but right. The Emet said kuyach dav. He's going to say here is like the Beit Yosef understood what's going on of Natan the toch cheko correctly, not my father-in-law. But he's going to say, but you're allowed to do it. Essentially, is what he's going to get to here. So, so keep going a little bit more.
V'kan nami ka'amar borer l'cheko pirush shenoten afilu l'tocheko achar brira v'brira atzma hi b'kanon v'tamchoi. Haki lo zachar haTorah simon taf kuf yud Cheko ela kanon v'tamchoi shehem kli habrira. Aval b'netina achar brira mutar b'chol kavne.
Good. That's the important thing, right there. So, right. So that's why the Torah didn't include the cheko in the Hilchot Yom Tov in Tafkuf. Right? But the big thing is, if you do brira b'yad, you can put it in any, but netina achar brira mutar b'chol gavne. You can put it wherever you want once you've done it. So, right, as long as you're going to eat it, right? It's the altar still, but so, all right, but I think I want to stop there. Yeah, that's enough from this Taz. This is the big thing right? I think the takeaway from this Taz is just like if you get nothing else, it's like a long argument to get there is. Borer biyad, like yes, read the Shulchan Aruch Davka here. It's interesting. The Torah Davka rather really is that once you do it biyad, you can put it in a bowl. Don't worry about that. It's how you do the borer, not where you put the item after the borer. That's important. So, hopefully that wasn't too long. Maybe I feel it was. I spent too much time maybe a little bit on it, but it's I think an important concept. So, okay. Where did I want to go next? Let's jump a little bit based on time to Seif. Let's do Seif Chet. Start there. So Josie, you want to read Seif Chet for us in the Shulchan Aruch?
Sure, let's give it a swing. Ein shorin et karshinin piresh veitze balaz. Not sure what this is what veitze is here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, what is it?
No, Weitze is karshinim. It's like some sort of beans or flax or something like that. I don't know. It's so.
Fetch.
But fetch, is that the word?
Is it vetch or yeah, okay.
That's what Jester had.
Great.
Veitze. Right, vetch. Okay, that makes sense. Dahainu shematzif mayim alehem bechli kidei lahasir psolet v'lo shapinotan biyad kidei lahasir psolet dahavale b'kivorer aval notnan b'chavira af al pi shenafel psolet derech nakvei hakvera. So we can't soak vetch. That sort of that things when you soak them in water, the water, the stuff you don't want, the psolet, you can't put them in a vessel so that the psolet floats up and away, so you can separate it away, and you can't pull them off by hand to take off the psolet.
Well, I think you can't like dunk them by hand, right, in the water, in order to take off the psolet. So,
because this is exactly like borer. Borer.
But wait, I'm gonna pause you there. So what can't you do on Shabbos, right? In here,
you can't soak your beans to get the hard stuff off.
Exactly. You can't use water as an agent for separating the good from the bad, right? That's we'll get into next week. Can you wash your apple on Shabbos, right? But that's going to be a big question. It's even though it could be mutar, but it's like it's like but this is an important thing. If like you can't dunk your vegetables to get rid of the bad stuff on Shabbat, to use water as a separating agent. Okay.
Right. Aval notnan b'kvera, you can put them in a sieve or on a colander. Af al pi shenafel psolet derech nikavei hakvera. Even though that the psolet is going to actually fall through the holes of our colander.
But what just happened? I thought we couldn't do that. It's a kvara, right? That was like the ultimate tool. Why is this allowed?
Well, the Mr. Brewer says it's because you don't intend.
Exactly. Good. That's the important thing here. Yeah, I'm just putting something in a vessel. If stuff falls out, it falls out, right? As opposed to like, I think that when we were all, at least, when they're talking about using, a sieve, they mean like putting the sieve and shaking the thing to separate stuff. But if you just put it in there and stuff falls out, may love. I think, in fact, I think either the Mishnah Berurah says either mela or may love. I can't remember which term he uses. Right? That's okay.
So if it falls out incidentally, it's not a problem because you didn't intend for it to borrow, you to separate. You just put them in there because it seemed to be the convenient place to have them or whatever.
Yes.
Mood,
Good. Right. That's, I think, a very important principle of Borer. At least I don't know. I'm making my own judgments about what I think is important, but it's important in life. And this gets back to Rav Landis said, right, is you have to have kavanah for Borer, right? It's not something that you just, if I in my doing my normal manner of things, I did borer, but like, that's not what I'm thinking about. It's not what I'm doing. That's not a problem. So,
if you have peanut shells and peanuts maybe mixed together, you couldn't like peanut shells might float and the peanuts might drop. So you couldn't do that.
Exactly.
Right. Except that he did say that as far as bittul and muksa, we count the klipas as ochel. Maybe it is that particular case. Maybe that would be actually permitted because it's ochel. It's all considered ochel.
You probably couldn't make them float. Oh, you think it's all? The one's just guarding the ochel. It's his shomer pri. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we said it's all ochel, kind of. Even if you broke it.
So, Rav Landis, I saw you.
Just reminding that the term Natila Ba'alma fits in here also. You don't have the kavanah for borer, you're just taking something.
So
Yes,
here you're using the water. Here you are using the water as a
Right.
kli.
right. It's true. It's true.
It's like, yeah, maybe it would be forbidden because it's with, even though it's ochel mitoch ochel, but it's with a kli.
Yeah. And
Well,
that's
is a kli. Oh, bring me the kli. The parent says to the child helping out in the kitchen. That shows kavanah.
exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Or, right.
yeah.
So
But
what
I
I'm saying
think-
is that the water itself is like a kli.
Mhm.
Right.
It's a method of borer, essentially. So it's yeah. But,
No.
good. But I also, I want to add, I want to reinforce with this too that again, if you put stuff, you're like, oh, great to put stuff in this vessel because it might do borer, but that's not my intention. That's I just like maybe you don't have to worry about it as long as your intention is really not borer. If it happens, it happens, like kind of thing. But
I mean, the real practical question is, can you wash off like dirt from your lettuce, your romaine
Right.
lettuce?
Yes.
You've got, in the bottoms of the romaine lettuce is little bits of dirt. Can you wash that off?
Mhm. So,
or is that borer?
That's good. We'll talk more about that next week. That's I mean the way the
Okay.
post
keep you guys in suspense.
Well, I'll say
Magen Avraham seems to say no, you can't.
Good. Where do you see that in Magen Avraham?
Tet, Ein
Tet.
Shorim V'chulei. Hu
Yeah,
Adin,
And then Shabur quotes him.
Hu Adin im yesh psolet v'achal me'uravin, asur litnam b'mayim, k'dei sheyipol ha'psolet lamata, kegon afar. So yeah, for dust, which I guess just really means dirt,
Right.
then you wouldn't be allowed.
The way Rav Moshe, if I remember correctly, I think I signed this. If he says washing an apple, right, where you would be willing to eat, people would be willing to eat the apple if you didn't wash it, right?
Yeah, an apple is clean.
Exactly. But if it's actually like dirty leaves, right? If like, you're worried about bugs or you're worried about dirt, right? That's a different story. That's actually a problem on Shabbos. So,
Well, that's a real question if you have bugs. If you're worried about bugs, washing
Yeah.
romaine lettuce.
so, but,
With
yeah,
what we saw on the tour, when we just read the tour plainly, does he not make it in one reading?
where do you see it? Show us in the tour.
Well, when we went back, you mentioned in the beginning, he said, "Ketzad hu borer mish torach bebrata ochel yoter miberata psolet." Borer kedarko lizrok psolet. I mean, he's not talking about washing in particular, but I feel like
I think you still would say biyad. You can't do it with a tool, right? Like with water. You could do it with your hand. You could take the psolet mitoch ochel if that's the easier way to do it, according to the tour. So, but in other words, the tour would say I could take the like back to the case where Ruben was talking about earlier. If there's fewer dirty leaves than there are rotting leaves than there are good leaves from the salad, you can take the dirty leaves out according to the tour. But if it's easier, but you couldn't do it with water, or you couldn't do it with, because I think like Rav Nachum says, the water is a tool at that point. So
even though you could actually select the psolet, it's still biyad as opposed to like a process.
exactly,
Right. You can pick off the pieces of dirt from the lettuce.
You could rub
at the stem of the lettuce, pick off the pieces of dirt, and then it's mostly clean. Then you could rinse it.
Yeah.
If it's got to the point where it's edible, then you could maybe rinse it just,
Wait,
to remove
but-
the
to go
invisible
back-
dirt.
Yeah, to go back to the apple, then the nafkamina is whether it's you're washing off something or just washing off cooties.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah, invisible
To
dirt.
use a technical term.
So, but
And this was the New York water problem with all the bugs. Wasn't there something about this?
Yeah. So, well,
They
good.
were
So,
vi- They were visible. Actually. That was a big problem with them. If they were invisible, it would,
yeah, we will. God willing, I think we're doing Isser V'Heter next year. We'll talk about bugs more, and that's like a real, the Birya question. But actually, while we're at that, because Max, you brought it up, can you read Yud for us in the Shulchan Aruch?
Yeah. Yayin omayim shem stolim mutar l'sananan b'mishmeres. So if you have wine or water that's already clarified, then you can go ahead and put that into a colander.
Yeah, or some sort of like probably a cloth that we'll get into one problem with it with Mayim. But good. What's this reminiscent of maybe in the modern world?
Like a Brita?
Yeah, Brita filters, right? Yeah. They're great. I was hoping someone. This is a whole question of can you use a Brita filter on Shabbos? It doesn't. I'm not Brita. It doesn't have to be Davka Brita. Whatever the different companies are out there, right? Because if the water was already clear, right, then as Rav, I mean, maybe you're not removing cooties, but in fact, read the Ramah because that's going to be important here.
ואף על פי שיש בו kismin dakin, ho'il ve'ru'il lishtos b'lav hapi. Right, even though it has some schmutz inside.
Well, I think it means
pieces of wood.
Yeah,
wood
little
chips,
pieces of wood.
Yeah, wood chips.
Which is pretty high pretty low standard, I should say, of what's acceptable to drink.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, because so in other words, right, if you would drink it without that, that's fine. As long as so if you're using it to get rid of, I don't know, the chemicals that are coming out of your pipes, or maybe the heavy metals that are coming out of your pipes, it sounds like maybe
interesting. What about like coffee grinds? People might drink it with the coffee grinds, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, is coffee grinds worse or better than kesamim?
So you're asking about like the French press question almost, right? Can you, if you're like,
no, I'm thinking of like Israelis drink black coffee, like Turkish coffee.
Turkish coffee, yes.
And then is like
or something like that.
And then you, I don't know. I mean, you're really just supposed to stop when you get to 2/3. The last third, you just leave it in the cup and throw it away. But if you would want to pour it through a filter,
maybe you could. If you're willing to drink it.
Maybe there's a little bit. Let's say you want to pour off the top 2/3 into a cup, but even there might be a few grains of the coffee. Maybe that you could do because you would drink it anyway.
So it's not filtering anymore.
Of course, when you pour off, you'd have to pour off and leave some of the coffee in with the grounds, because otherwise that would itself be poured.
We're going to get to that in a minute.
That's later.
Yeah, God willing. That's good. All right, well, let's finish up this seif in the Shulchan Aruch. Max, keep reading a little bit. So.
Aval besudar mayim asur mishum libun v'yayin v'shar mashkin mutar. But if you're using a cloth, then you can't do it. You can't do that with water because it's a libun issue for the sudar. But other beverages would be fine.
Yeah, but the Taz, if you remember, I think we did this at some point when we did libun, right? It seems like the Beit Yosef actually thinks wine might also do libun, which is kind of weird that he says it doesn't do it. But okay, we're not doing libun right now. So, but keep going a little bit.
Okay, v'im hem akurim bein mayim bein yayin asur l'sananam. But if it's like murky water or wine, then you can't, because then you're trying to get out the stuff you don't want.
So
Ula Rambam b'mishmeres asur afilu mayim v'yayin slulim v'afilu besudarim lo hitiru ela b'tzlulim aval lo ba'akurim.
Okay.
And according to the Rambam, you can't use the strainer, even if it's clarified water or wine, and even if it's with a sudar, and even if you're using a sudar, it's only with slulin that it's okay, but not for murky water.
Yeah, I don't think we saw this. Maybe we did. It's a little weird because the Gemara says that you can use a mishmeret, but
well, the first halacha he's saying there's no difference between a sudar and a mishmeret.
Exactly.
Basically, there's no difference except for this issue of libun. But then, according to the Rambam, no, mishmeret is worse than a sudar.
Exactly. Yeah. So mishmeret seems to be more made for this, and the sudar is maybe not a usual tool for borer here. But and so therefore, if you're doing slulim, then the Rambam's going to allow it. So okay, let's jump to, unless there are any questions. But
So wait a second. According to the Rambam, you might argue that a brita would be usher.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I was gonna comment on that about like depends what water you're putting into it.
Well, it says slulim.
Yeah.
Even
It-
slulim
but-
and a
but there's
mishmeret. If you consider a brita to be a mishmeret,
Then it would be asur according to the Rambam. Yeah. That's no. It would be a Jessica. Go for it.
Isn't it a la nichale kind of situation? Like it depends on whether you care how much it's filtered. You know, if you're just using it because it's like your only jug and you actually don't care about the filtering, then that's different from if you care about the filtering.
Oh, interesting. Like you're saying that you're pouring it in there just because that's what you do. It's just how you put
Right.
the water in. Yeah. So
I had a friend who who just threw away the filter and just used it anyway, but kept the white thing in it so it looked like it had a filter.
So
The avnit in Israeli water, like it seemed to me that you were using the ksamin example. You know, are you going to interpret this as ksamin or what sounds like akurim?
Well, there's a big difference. What's the difference between akurim is mamish cloudy water, and
No.
the other one, it's the water is clear. It just has things floating in it. You could, filter it with your teeth maybe, and just, let it. You could drink it through your mustache, and it
So you
would be
agree
all
that-
right.
So you're agreeing that Israeli tap water could be considered akurim?
No, I wouldn't say that. Israeli tap water is fine.
Well, that was the interesting thing, because when you all were debating it, you were using the example. You weren't using the language of tzulim, which is really clear.
Mhm.
You were using the language of what would people normally drink, and people certainly drink Israeli tap water. On the other hand, in just like a visual description type of way, all that avnit can really look like murky water. So, also, when I visit in Israel, I treat it like murky water because I'm not used to it. But that's another.
I mean, well,
If the pipes are reasonably new, then you're not going to have murky water.
So unless
I
it's air that's like, infused in the water, which does happen, but that's people drink it that way, right? The whole thing about drinking it that way from the Ramah is important. Like if you're willing to drink it, that's going to be a huge kula for all of this, right? If you're willing to drink it as it is, and then you still filter it, because as Rav Landis says, you're getting rid of cooties, right? I think it doesn't have to be loved off cooties, but
Chemicals, imperceptible chemicals.
Exactly.
How about this? Sometimes here's where you do find avnit in the water, when you have like a kumkum, electric hot water kettle, and then sometimes they have now ones built-in filters. In Israel, they have a built-in filter in the tea kettle, like out of like a very thin nylon, and the water goes through that, and therefore you don't get any avnit in your cup. But if you don't if you keep on refilling the kettle without dumping it, then you'll end up with a lot of avnit in the kettle. Then you might have a problem using that on Shabbat, even if, obviously you couldn't use electricity, but you could, if you would just have it already warmed or something, you could pour it.
Well, you could imagine you boiling it in there right before Shabbos, and then you leave it for Shabbos, right, for like the first meal, for the first Suda, and then you pour out.
And now there's avnit in it, and what do you call it in English? Whatever, calcium deposits, and then that might be a problem.
Why was that different than the Brita? I didn't understand.
The Brita, the water from the tap does not have avnit in it that's visible, and the Brita doesn't even remove the avnit. The Brita is not capable of removing avnit.
Yeah.
It only removes, the Brita only removes chemicals like,
usually heavy metals that Britas remove. So
heavy metals. Yeah. As opposed, not light metals.
Yeah, exactly.
Plutonium.
In contrast to experience, but that's all right.
I want to just summarize this for a second here. Like, there are going to be people who are going to say, "Hey, I use a Brita on Shabbos," and they're following the Ramah, seemingly, right? That's they've got a very good thing to stand on. And people who could say it's asur, and I'm following the Rambam because I think it's a mishmeret, and that's asur, even for slulim. So I think both those opinions are
good. We finally found something that we can tell the Temanim are more machmir about it than we.
Good. Yes, exactly. So I don't know.
Are generally more lenient, but here you can say they're.
They're more machmer because
But how does he get over the libun?
The libun in a it's not
A
libun.
Mishmeret doesn't have. Oh, how does the Rambam?
The Rambam saying that it's okay with a sudar.
Oh, it would have to be for yain, right? I think. Or I look, there's two things. Either it's for yain because we did talk about that,
or he considers it lo nichale. It could be.
exactly. Yeah. So, or the other possibility. Remember, we said something that's already clean isn't shayach. Libun isn't shayach. Maybe the Rambam thinks that if it's a clean filter.
Or it's actually, there's another heter which is derech lichluch. Didn't we see that?
Oh, the Tosfos, right? Why you can dry your hands.
Dry your hands on a towel because it's derech lichluch.
So
you could say here it's also derech lichluch. In fact, it is. Like that's the whole point of it. You're trying to get it dirty.
Yeah. Okay, I want to what do we have? Yeah, let's jump to Seif Yud Daled on the Shulchan Aruch. I think this another thing that comes up a lot on Shabbos. So let's I don't know, anybody not read today? Who wants to read? Just gonna pick someone then. Noam.
Oh, well, okay. The truth is I hadn't read, but okay.
Oh, I got away.
I just didn't really look at this Seif that well. So, but you'll help me. Or
you'll do great. So
מותר להראות בנחת מכלי לחברו, ובלבד שייזהר שכשיפסוק הקילוח, ומתחילים לרד ניצוצות קטנות הנשאפות באחרונה מתוך הפסולת, יפסיק ויניחם עם השמרים. שאם לא יעשה כן, הניצוצות מוכיחי שהוא בורר. So, okay, I don't fully understand what's happening, but this is you're permitted to slowly pour from your friend's vessel.
Oh, no. I think from one kli to another kli. This is the case.
Sorry, mi kli lechavero. I misread. Yeah.
This is the Turkish coffee case that Rav Nachum was talking about before. So this is all right.
As someone who doesn't drink coffee, then
it's probably wine. He's probably talking about wine, and the bottom of the wine bottle has
lees.
Yeah, has dregs. So fleas, you said?
No, lees with an L.
Oh yeah. It has some dregs of wine in the bottom that you don't want. Okay. So, but what do you have to do? This is Noam.
So long as you make sure that when the stream stops, these are some kind of sparks. I'm not.
No. Nitzot here are the final droplets that fall out of the thing.
Oh, right? like trick. Yeah. When the final droplets are coming out, you stop and you make sure that some of them stay with dregs.
Exactly. In other words, you can't pour all of the liquid out. You got to leave a little bit of the liquid in to prove that you're not doing borer, right? That it's
an example of this in Israel. They put a label on challah, and you can't peel it off. But what you can do is you can cut off a bit of the bread with the label.
Oh, you're saying like it's like the same like a label on like an apple or something like that. Like they have those stickers kind of thing. That's
Oh, that's interesting. Also, yeah, I guess also a label on an apple.
So
well, the example I
think it's different.
Maybe an apple.
A label on the apple is a stickum, and you can take it off and put it on your kid's forehead or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to do that all the time, and the plumba on the challah is baked in, really.
Oh, okay. It's really part of it, you're saying.
Yeah, I think so.
Good. Yeah.
Is this similar to the Trumat Hadeshen who says if you take two both meaning, then it's like one mean? Is
exactly here you're leaving the liquid with some of the liquid with the solid, and then you're okay, right? That's it's very similar in that sense. It's the opposite, but very similar. So
It's now you're including two minim in the psolet instead of the ochel, but it's a similar logic.
Exactly. And with that, actually, let's do we have time? I think we do. Do me a favor, go to the Magen Avraham Tet Vav Muchache Shehu Borer. It's proven that he is would be doing Borer if you like poured it and you got all the last drops out and not the dregs, right? That's proving that you're doing Borer. So
sorry, Magen Avraham. That's Tet
Vav.
Tet Vav. Sorry, I see Dibora Matchil Nishar Lamala. I'm not in the right place, am I?
No, that's in Seif Tet Vav, Seif Katan Tet Zayin. Go one up from there.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. This is very confusing. Okay, sure, Borer. Okay. ותחילת שפיעתן כשאין הפסולת ניכר לאו בורר הוא. Sorry, shpiatan means
when you start pouring from one to the other, right? It's all mixed up and it's not obvious that you're trying to get rid of one from the other kind of thing, right? So this is the
right.
No, it's not,
okay.
It's not that it's mixed up, it's that you don't see the dregs.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
You just don't see the dregs. You see just the wine.
Yeah.
So. It's not nikar, an absolute nikar. You can't see the dregs.
The lefiza, you want me to keep going?
Yeah, please. Yeah, this is the important.
The lefiza asur le'arot ashuman me'amachal deha shnei minei ochlin hem ve'asur livror echad mechavero ella beyado k'dei le'ochlo miyad. And according to this, it's forbidden to pour out fat from food because this is two different types of food, and it's forbidden to select one from the other with anything other than one's hand in order to eat it immediately.
But by the way, he's not passing like the Taz here, who would say that it doesn't have to be two minei ochlin, right? It's even if it's the same ochel, right? Pouring one out from the other would be problematic. But anyway, keep going. So. Oh, sorry, Rav Nachum. Go ahead.
Well, wait a second. But the Taz rejects this sif? I don't think so.
No, the Taz would say it doesn't even. He'd say, of course, two minei ochlim. Even if it was one min, even if you consider the fat and the food the same ochel, I would still have a problem with it. So,
no, maybe it's all mutter. What do you mean? It's the same as our sif of the wine.
Oh, that it's.
If the wine is permitted, then this would also be permitted because there's no difference between 1 and 2.
Well, no, because he's going to say that as long as it would not be. Remember, this is not permitted if you get rid of all of it. This is where the Magen Avraham is going to go. If you pour out all the oil, but not if you pour out some of the oil. So. Well, here, keep going now. Let's see where he goes with it.
So here, this is when you pour it out from the tool. It's forbidden, like in the case of beer.
I thought he's saying any time to pour the oil out.
Well, no, I think but if you left some oil with the food, then it would be fine. That's not borer, right?
But the difference.
I thought he's saying okay.
It's not considered by definition, like the dregs are.
Exactly.
Oil is considered another food, so. Is that
I think it's interesting because I was thinking about this. If you're pouring out the oil, which is a psolet, right? The Sifyud Dalet is about you're pouring out the ochel from the psolet, and you're leaving some ochel with the psolet. And the Magen Avraham is talking about a case where you're pouring out the psolet and leaving the ochel. So even then, maybe leaving some of the psolet may not be. I mean, it's still. I think that may just still look like borer at that point. So I don't know. I
think what the Taz, I think what the Magen Avraham is saying is that the bottle is like a kli, and it's not biyado, and really this should be asur. It's a sif yud dalet, and the only reason he's mattering it is because it's not borer at all, because it's the same thing from the same thing. It's just it's not borer at all because even though it's a kli, but it's not ocha mitoch psolet even. It's ocha. It's the same. You're just taking some of the wine and leaving some of the wine.
But if it's
and then he's saying, but if it's two
different things, from a bottle, right?
What?
Otherwise, you couldn't even just pour wine from whatever it was contained in, right?
Right.
If there's dregs in the bottom and there's a And there's why if we're in a pitcher, for example, you couldn't pour it into your cup.
Right, but I'm saying, why is this allowed, even though it's a kli? Because it's not borer at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought he's trying, maybe I don't know, but I'm not sure what he's trying to say, but I thought he's trying to say that pouring off the fat is a different food, and therefore it is borer, and therefore you're doing the kli, and therefore it's forbidden. But Joel, you're saying, yeah, but if I leave some of the fat, then what's the difference?
Exactly. That's what I thought he was saying. But maybe I don't know. I want to.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. It's only if you pour all the fat off.
Yeah, I gotta look at the Eshel Avram, see if he says anything about it. I didn't look at that, or the Mishnah Berurah. So, but how are we doing on time? Oh, we're almost at the end. So I want to
sorry for
no, this is good. This is good. This is what we're supposed to do here. There's one other thing I want to just do. We'll pause there. Everyone just go to the Taz. Was it on Sif Katan Yud Bet? That's where I want to look at the Taz.
I mean, just read the last line of the Magen Avraham that you were reading.
Efshar de lo
shayich, like the last bit there. Efshar de lo shayich bereira ela b'devarim hamuravim. We only can say this borer when the things are really mixed.
And here the
lechuda koi. But here, I don't know. I think he's talking about our case of the chicken or whatever, the chicken and the fat. Each one is separate.
Yes, exactly. And so they're separate things. So maybe that's why there's more leniency here. So,
right. It's an important principle.
Good. Yeah. All right. I have 1 minute. I'll throw us to the Taz here. The last Taz on the Siman. Is the last Taz on Siman? No, it keeps going. It's the Taz on Yud Bet. Sorry. At the very end, everyone see Perak Klal Gadol?
Yeah.
I just want to read it just very quickly. Perak Klal Gadol. We saw this Katvu Tosfot. Hilfana Bemine Shnei Mine Ochlin. Oh yeah, here we go. The Tosfot said that, right, that you have two types of ochel in front of you. That's what we read in that's the correct girsa of the Gemara. Right, he says that seems from the Tosfot that when they say mine ochlin, it seems like it's only, and not shnei minim, I think, but that it's only something that's ochel. Aval b'shar dvarim kagon livor kli mitoch kelim ein sheach b'zeh isur brera. Right, it says doesn't seem like kelim have any relevance to borer. V'chein mashna mikol haniskar be'isur borer naktua b'midei de achila, and everything that we've talked about up to this point of borer is only about achila, right? V'alken lo nakata tanas stam hayu fanav shnei minim, right? Ela ochlin dafka. That's why the Tana didn't say two types of things, but rather two types of ochlin. Ela de'ita b'gemara achar kach sham amar Rava. Haiman de Avid Chavita Chayav Mishum Sheva Chataot. Right, this is Rava says someone who builds a chavit on Shabbat. You've done 7 melachot of Shabbat. You have to bring 7 sacrifices. The Chashiv Rashi Borer Mishmibenehem. And Rashi, when he counts them, he includes Borer. Dahainu Borer Hatzorot Agasot Mitochan. When you're taking the big rocks from the big pebbles from the small pebbles. Ve'im ken tzarich lomar had dekadvot tosfot mine ochlin garsinan. Lervuta afilu be'ochel mitoch ochel minan danishar habe psolet. Right, and so why does the Tosfot then say that it's important to say ochlin? Not because ochlin and only ochlin. Again, this is not reading this davka ochlin, but rather that of course you can't take one rock from another, two types of kalim from another. But even ochel, where everything is food, you can't take one from the other, and that you consider them solet. So at the end of the Taz seems to paskin that indeed borer applies beyond just ochel, but rather to all sorts of manner of things. So that was very quick on the Taz, but I just wanted to, that's important halacha, because then we can have to get into taking out socks from drawers and stuff like that, and silverware and all that good stuff. That leads us to a huge, huge world. But for next time. Okay.
Very good. Shkoyach.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abdul.
Mishnah Berurah Shir on Thursday. I will do more of this stuff, and then next week even more good practical stuff. So,
thank you.
Please record Thursday because I won't be able to be there.
Oh, I'll record. So I have to put a bunch up anyway. So
thank you.
All right. Rav Nachum, Rav Linus, I have to go teach for the Talmud program, but